So welcome, Nadine.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here with me. I'm really grateful.
You're welcome.
And could you just start off by telling us what it is that you do that you love?
What I do that I love. Wow. I don't know if there are many things I do that I don't love, except for maybe, I don't know, scheduling tweets and Hootsuite. Maybe that's one thing that I do sometimes that I don't love. I am a coach. I'm a business coach for women in business, and I love it because it's totally aligned with my purpose, and that's to help women be heard, be free, and prosper. So when I get to do that and work with women and see them grow and be empowered, I don't know, there's just something that grows in me too, and it's just very rewarding to be able to see that.
That's so cool. And so tell us again. It's prosper. What were the first? Can you tell us the three things?
Be free,
Be free,
be heard,
be heard,
and prosper.
and prosper.
Well, I didn't say it in that order before, but it's okay.
Okay.
It works.
So, what is it about those three things? What do those three things give you? Because you said you grow in the process too.
Yeah. It's I really believe in evolution, the growth and the development of someone. And just what I see in terms of entrepreneurship is that it's a means to that end. So entrepreneurship helps. It's like if you're going to become an entrepreneur, and of course you are an entrepreneur, Vanessa, it's like the biggest test of your leadership. It's the truest test of your inner courage because you're it. There's no steady paycheck anymore. And, not to say that there aren't people in the corporate world who are courageous and authentic and strong and all those things and question the status quo. Absolutely there are. But when you're on your own as a business owner, it's different. It's a real test. And so what that gives me is I love growing people. And so if I have a role to play in someone, particularly someone who's taking a risk to be an entrepreneur, to help them grow from an inside out view, then that is very empowering to me.
And so what's been your journey to get to this place and to kind of claim this in your life?
My journey. How far do you want to start? My journey as an entrepreneur started when I was about 12, and I didn't know it that I was an entrepreneur at the time. My dad had his own business. His business was different. It wasn't a freedom-based business. He was very much tied down to his role. He had a business where he sold security deadbolts and window bars door to door. He actually went door to door in the communities and cities in Western Canada where we live. And he was gone much of the time, so he would work during the week and come home on weekends. And he would go door to door. So he was very tied down. It was him who was in the business. He didn't have a lot of freedom. And what I did see is I would often go with him, like when I was off school or in holidays or whatever. And it was a way probably for them not to have to get childcare for me. But I would go with him sometimes. And he would actually, every time he would sell a deadbolt, which would be in those days about $50 for him to install a deadbolt on someone's door. And we're talking about the 80s, the early 80s, when there weren't deadbolts on doors at that time, and their security was just starting to become a real issue, and people were paying attention. And he would say, Nadine, I want you to come with me. And every time we sell a deadbolt for $50, I'm going to give you $1. And one day I made $52.
Wow.
Can you imagine? So that's where it started. And then can you still see me?
I can see you now.
Perfect. And then I, got into university and I got I actually started in the corporate world and moved my way up the ladder. And after about 17 years, I'd say, I was the communication manager for a city of over 1 million people. And one day I was meeting with my director and talking to her just about the fact that I was missing spending time with my 2-year-old. My dad had passed away. A lot of things had changed in my life, and I was really, I was kind of getting closer to 40 and really realizing that life was short and that I wanted to make a meaningful contribution. And I was, but something related to my purpose. And she said to me, Nadine, in the last 10 years that I've been director of communications, I've lost about 5 years of my life, and from stress, from moving this up the mountain. And I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm the succession plan here for this role. And I wasn't that keen on it. I wanted flexibility to spend with my son. I didn't want to have regrets. I still wanted to make a meaningful contribution and build something of my own, but I certainly didn't want to be tied down to that kind of stress.
Yeah.
And so it was really about freedom and flexibility and building something of my own and taking a risk.
And was it as easy as kind of just going, okay, I'm going to take that risk? Or was there kind of like a backing to and fro of kind of, I'm going to, I'm not, I'm like, how did you get over it?
It took me a year to make the decision. It took me a year, and that was with coaching.
Yeah.
I had a full-time coach I worked with for 3 times a month. And one day, actually, when I made the decision, when I left, was June 30th. Actually, 2 years ago. We're coming up to 2 years. And when I made that, a year before I made the decision, I said it was going to be June 30th, July 1st. It took me a full year to catch up with myself, to actually do it at that time. And I did it at that time. But I kind of forgot that I had set that date.
Yeah.
And it took a full year to catch up with myself. Yeah, it wasn't easy. Yeah.
So when you kind of think about where you are now, and for someone who maybe hasn't got to that place,
right?
What advice would you give them? Like, where would you start? You know, because often it's like,
Yeah.
that's great for you, but it may not be possible for me.
Right. And so one of the things that I think was that allowed it to work for me was that I got my husband's support, my partner, and it was critical. And he was not excited about it at first. I mean, I had a 6-figure job. I was well paid. I had pension. I had 100 employees. I was on the road to, like great things, right? And at first he was pretty nervous, and it was fear. He was scared. How are we going to pay our bills? Are we going to, how can we do it? And what happened was we met with our financial advisor, and we sat down and we said, okay, let's get to the meat and potatoes here. Let's do our finances and say, what can we live on if we just had to cut back for the first year of being in business while this was getting set up? If we had to cut back in the first year even, what areas would we, and what do we need to live on, and could we live off of Derek's income? And so we did that. We did a 1-page, what are all the essential items, our mortgage, our insurance, our gas, our food, what are all the key things? And then we looked at what are the key things that can be on hold for a year or even 2 years, like retirement savings, like a registered plan, or education savings for Keene. Things that we know we could pick up again, but could just allow us to have some cash flow while the business is growing. And we realized that we could easily, make it work with some cutbacks of how we were spending our money. And we actually got really good at living off of his income, and it didn't feel like we were poor. We weren't like extremely, like we could do anything we wanted and go on a $10,000 trip. But I never once felt like I couldn't go get groceries, or I couldn't put gas in the car, or anything like that. We always had that handled. And just recently, actually, just last week, we had a meeting with a financial advisor, and we started our retirement savings investments again, and we started our education deposits for Keene again. So it happens. We needed that window to build up our to have our cash flow so that I could build the business and get the foundation started.
Yeah. So it sounds like a very pragmatic, you're recommending a real pragmatic, honest, clean look at the money and the business. Yeah.
And to deal with it head on, and to say, we can be scared about it, or we could look at the numbers and say, how can we make this work?
Yeah.
And I had his support, which was when he saw the numbers and he said, okay, we can do this.
So one of the things I know about being in business is that you can have great months and you can have more challenging months. Right. When it gets challenging, what is it that keeps you on purpose, that keeps you, you know, kind of locked in and resilient?
Oh, that's such a good question. I'm actually going to answer that question with something. About a year ago, I realized that I was working with corporate leaders and doing a lot of leadership coaching, and I was really good at it. And I am still very good at it. And however, what I was realizing is that my energy wasn't there as much as I would have liked it. I noticed it. It was like I was going backwards. And actually, Vanessa, you probably even remember this because I know I had a conversation with you around that time. And when I was working with my coach, I realized that I wasn't working in alignment with my purpose. And I really saw entrepreneurship as a way to do that. So I made a decision to change my target market and work with entrepreneurial women. And I wasn't making a lot of money then. And I was really getting things started. And honestly, the next week, I don't even know if you know this, I got an opportunity and an offer for a 1-year contract to be an executive coach for a leader and his communication leader at the same time. And it was a 1-year contract, and it worked out to almost $300,000. $300,000. And what it meant was going downtown every day, working for someone else, working in someone's office, basically putting my dream on hold, my purpose, which I had just committed to a week before.
Cool.
You can imagine I lost some sleep because that would have paid off our mortgage. You know, it would have, what can you do with $300,000, right?
Yeah.
So, but I actually was justifying it. I was saying I can put my coaching on hold with women, or I could do it on the side. And I started to justify things. And after some really long reflection, I said no to that, which was the tipping point to open up the opportunity to what was available to me. And you asked the question about when times are tough, or that can be tough. When they're tough, I look at the purpose and I say, okay, I'm doing my purpose, I'm coaching, and if I need more revenue or I want some additional funds, I look at doing consulting projects, or I take on some other things, and I only do things that I like. So, yeah. You know, that fits with my time that I have available.
So there's
kind of a long answer to your question.
No, well, what I love about what you're saying is like there's a real pragmaticness, like a grounded, you know, practical sense that goes with you, which says, you know, I will find a way to make this happen. But the important thing is to stay on purpose.
To stay on purpose, and I think it's important to define your time container and how you want to spend your time. So, for example, I'll never take a project that requires me to be available 24/7 as a communication advisor. Yeah. A corporate consulting project, I'll never take that on. I just turned away a $100,000 project a few weeks ago because they needed me 24/7, and I'm not available for that. So it's kind of defining, okay, what is your time container? How many hours a week are you able to work in your business? What other pieces are there for that? What days am I spending with my son? Because that was the most important reason that I did this in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm never going to lose that. And I was starting to lose that. I would have lost that with that contract, that first one I mentioned. And then taking that and saying, okay, now what kind of projects can I do? And if I need some additional funding for my company, what projects are out there that could fit that time container, and more that I can plan my own schedule and manage the project the way that I need to, right? As long as they buy into it at the beginning of the project.
Yeah.
So there is, it is pragmatic.
Yeah.
It's drawing upon skills, right, that you happen to have.
Yeah. So it's kind of great, isn't it? Because if people wanted to get in contact with you, Nadine, how would they do that?
Just all they have to do is go to my website, NadineNicholson.com. So it's NadineNicholson.com. Cool. And I'm on there.
Nadine, thank you so much. It's been
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.